Every single great civilization that has ever walked this planet has a story about snakes, a story of fear, of worship, of power, or, in some cases, of a colossal mistake. So yeah, let's dive into this wild shared history. So, what's the one thing that connects the pharaohs of Egypt, the generals of Carthage, and even the economists of the British Empire? It's pretty simple, actually. They all had to deal with snakes.
For some, this wasn't an animal to be scared of at all. Nope, it was a god to be worshipped, a symbol of ultimate power, something you'd put on a king's crown. Others, well, they saw something a lot more practical, a terrifying, slithering weapon that you could literally unleash on your enemies. And then there's my personal favorite story, the one about the empire that tried to solve its snake problem and, in a truly spectacular failure, ended up making it so much worse. All right, our journey kicks off where so much of civilization began, ancient Egypt. Here, in the land of pyramids and pharaohs, the snake wasn't just some animal. It was a symbol of absolute divine power. You've seen that rearing cobra on a pharaoh's crown, right? That's called the uraeus, and it wasn't just a fancy piece of jewelry. It was a straight-up warning. It stood for the goddess Wadjet, and the message was crystal clear. If you mess with the pharaoh, you're messing with a god with fangs. And this deep connection was woven into every single part of Egyptian life and death. The cobra protected the king in this world, and the cobra goddess, Merit Sager, guarded his tomb in the next. So it's really no wonder that Cleopatra's legendary death by aspite, whether it's true or not, just felt like such a perfectly poetic ending for the last pharaoh. Okay, from a divine symbol, we're now going to do a complete 180. We're heading to Carthage for what is, without a doubt, the most unhinged use of snakes in military history, all thanks to the brilliant general Hannibal. So picture this. Hannibal is in a naval battle, and he's seriously outnumbered. So his solution? An early and, frankly, terrifying form of biological warfare. He tells his men to gather up a bunch of venomous snakes, seal them inside clay pots, and then launch them like grenades onto the enemy fleet. Can you even imagine being there? You're a sailor, fighting for your life, and all of a sudden the deck of your ship is swarming with angry, venomous snakes. It was pure psychological terror. The enemy fleet just fell apart. Hannibal won. It's an absolutely bonkers and terrifyingly effective strategy. But here's what's so cool. While Carthage was busy weaponizing snakes, another great civilization, the Greeks, were looking at the very same creature and seeing a symbol of healing. That difference tells you so much, right? One culture is all about brutal, pragmatic war, and the other is focused on philosophy and science. So let's pivot to the Greco-Roman world, where snakes weren't just feared or used as weapons. They were actually respected, studied, and even welcomed into homes and temples as creatures of healing and protection. This is where we get the famous rod of Asclepius, that snake coiled around a staff that's still the symbol of medicine today. And it gets crazier. Greek healing temples would literally let non-venomous snakes roam free among the sick. The Romans took it a step further, keeping snakes as genius loci, or guardian spirits of the home. But it wasn't all positive. On the frontiers of the empire, thousands of Roman soldiers died from snake bites, and these wild legends of generals fighting giant serpents showed just how much they dominated the Roman imagination. All right, let's fast forward into the Middle Ages, where the story of the snake evolves again. In the great Islamic empires, snakes became subjects of intense scientific study, but also the perfect tools for the darkest of court secrets. And this marks a really important shift. While a lot of the world was still wrapped up in folklore, scholars in the Arab world were taking a methodical, scientific approach to understanding snakes and, more importantly, their venom. And this duality is just fascinating. On one hand, you've got brilliant thinkers like Ibn Sina writing the Canon of Medicine, a go-to medical text for centuries that laid out early toxicology. But on the other hand, in the high-stakes world of the Ottoman court, that very same venom became a whispered-about secret weapon, a tool for quiet, untraceable assassinations. And now for our final and maybe most ironic chapter, the British Empire's attempt to conquer the cobra in India. This is a story of good intentions leading to a disastrous, and let's be honest, kind of hilarious outcome. This entire historical fiasco was so perfectly flawed that it actually gave birth to its own economic term,
The Cobra Effect. It's what happens when your brilliant solution totally backfires and makes the problem you were trying to solve way, way worse.
So here's how it went down. The British saw a problem, too many deadly cobras. Their solution seemed logical, pay a cash bounty for every dead one. But they totally misjudged human ingenuity. People started breeding cobras just to kill them and collect the money. When the British finally caught on and canceled the program, the farmers just released all their now worthless snakes. The result? The wild cobra population just exploded.
And the scale of this failure is just staggering. In some areas, the cobra population is estimated to have increased by more than 10 times. Their well-intentioned policy didn't just fail, it created a full-on cobra baby boom. So just think about the incredible journey we've been on. The exact same animal has been seen as a god, a weapon, a guardian, a source of medicine, an assassin's tool, and a legendary cautionary tale for economists. In the end, this long, complicated history might say more about us than it does about snakes. For all our progress and all our power, this one creature continues to challenge, fascinate, and pretty much defy all our attempts to control it.
So, which of these stories really stood out to you? Was it Egypt's reverence, Hannibal's audacity, or Britain's spectacular failure? It's a tough one to call. Thanks for checking this out.